Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build NBA edition. I'm Kevin Robertson with Taylor Smith, getting ready to go down over the DraftKings main slate. I believe it's a 7-gamer, 8-gamer. It's a nice size slate regardless. Should be fun. Hopefully we can win some money. That is the goal of what we're doing here. Free video breakdowns to help point you in the right direction. If anything we say here helps you out, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Both those things support us and help us out quite a bit. And also, if you subscribe to the channel, you get alerted to future videos. I just did a Super Bowl 59 DFS showdown video, so you can get that at the end of this video, or just go to our main channel page to access it. Either way, all the videos here you see are free, and also you can join our Discord, which is free as well. And you can get in there with a growing community of people who are like-minded and want to try to win, and they also are pretty eager to help you win too. If you want to get extra things, we do offer FanDuel core plays for a small fee, and also DraftKings night slate picks for a even smaller fee. So you can check those both out at our Patreon and get access to those, get some picks your way, and also support us at the same time. With that, let's dive into it. We have a nice slate ahead of us. Starting at point guard, Tyrese Maxey leads the way with the best projection of the position. Feels a little bit pricey, especially if Joel Embiid is back, but obviously the projection is the projection, and he's not going to be very owned. I'm not really going there. I think this just feels like a slate where I just don't feel compelled to play any particular stud. There's one in mind, but really there's so much good high level mid range that I don't really want to do it. I don't think you need to do it. So why don't we start there? What are your thoughts on Maxey at basically no ownership?
I'm not really into it. I think Embiid's probably going to play, which is obviously never a sure thing with him, but it seems like he's going to play after being out for quite a while. So even a limited version of him is going to take a lot of usage from Maxey. I don't think it's a bad play. Like, matchup okay. Dallas doesn't have AD and all that, so they're not going to be a great defense, but kind of pricey. There's a lot of mid-range stuff, point guard to like. So as of now, I have a full Maxey fade, which doesn't feel fun, but I think it's viable. I think it's overpriced for an Embiid in situation.
Yeah, 100% agree. Almost 10K. Obviously, he can get there. He's been really good. If you look at his game log here, a lot of high 50s, even a 62-point game. Thing is, it's not like he's SGA or something. He's just not really the kind of guy that usually gets you pushing 70 fantasy points. So considering the price, and especially with Embiid back, I think it's a pretty good fade. Next up in the projections here is Jalen Brunson. Not too far behind him is Kyrie Irving. And then you also have Tyler Hero. They all look good. I think the favorite for me is Hero. I'm a little bit surprised he's not a little bit more owned. It just feels like this Bulls Heat game in general is kind of getting overlooked a little bit. I don't know if it's just because Boston and Cleveland are on the slate or the Lakers are there. So whatever the case may be, it feels like it's going a little bit overlooked. I know Bam is carrying ownership, but Hero looks awesome against the Bulls here. And if I'm picking between him and Bam, I kind of lean Hero just because it looks like he's going to be a little bit less owned.
Yeah, I don't really have an issue with Hero. I think it's obviously a great spot. The Miami side is pulling ownership. It's just not really him. Like Bam and Ware and Rozier, it looks like, are going to be pretty popular. So you're getting some leverage on them, especially Rozier if you play Hero instead. This price range is loaded, though. Like Brunson looks awesome to me with OG Anunoby. Kyrie Irving would look better if Embiid is out. But either way, like 8,600 for him with no Luka, obviously, and no AD. So I like that quite a bit. Amen Thompson is getting up there at 8.5, but as we saw last night, he still has a massive ceiling. There's no Van Vliet, no Jabari Smith, no Tari Eason. So he's going to be the point guard. He's going to be doing a lot of ball handling and Jalen Green. So even at 8.5, I think Amen is still playable. He was awful against Brooklyn a couple days ago, but not really expecting that again. So I think Hero is fine, but there's a lot else to like in that range as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean,
Brunson
you can
being
keep
my
going.
favorite as of now. Brunson gets a 5.5% usage boost without OG, and they're playing Toronto, which is like Toronto's been better defensively of late, but they do have a pretty high total. So I like Brunson a lot.
Yeah, I don't mind Brunson. Obviously, he showed his ceiling yesterday. I don't know what the ownership is on Cat yet, but if people are going to start playing Brunson, I wouldn't mind getting Cat instead. But just at point guard right now, I think Hero just has the best spot. And they all are kind of the same price there and similar projections. So that's probably going to be my flag plant of the slate, especially when you look at the ownership of the other guys, like you said. Speaking of Rozier, like I don't really want to do that. He's a fine value play, excellent matchup. All the reasons why you'd play these other Heat guys, it checks out for Rozier, and obviously, Jimmy gives him a boost. But I don't know, a 25% own, maybe a lot more in single entries. Tell me why I need to play Rozier. I just don't really want to do it, I guess.
I won't. I do not think he's a good play into ownership. Like the minutes,
yeah, there you go.
But he's been bad for most of the season. He's been kind of hot shooting over the last few games. The matchup's good, of course, but I just don't think a 40 to 50% on Rozier is something I need or want to do on this slate.
No. D'Lo looks pretty good here. 6.4K. The matchup with the Rockets is not great, but his projection looks nice. We know he has a big role. No Ben Simmons. A lot of guys out for the Nets in general. So Brooklyn is a pretty good source of value. You're not really getting that with 6.4K D'Lo. And his minutes limit is not amazing, but he still looks good. I think I like Giddey a lot better at $500 more in that Heat Bulls game that just seems to be going overlooked in general. Aside from the Heat guys you were saying that are carrying ownership, but doesn't seem like the Bull side is going to be that owned. Giddey here is coming with about 19% ownership because no Levine for sure now. He's been traded. But he looks really good. It feels a little bit too cheap for his ceiling. Projects really well. Miami has actually been a faster paced team without Jimmy. So, and just like the general matchup, the game flow, it looks really good. So I like Giddey a lot. Probably my second favorite play behind Hero at point guard. And I don't mind getting to D'Lo if I fall on him. I don't think he's a core play for me or anything at that price and with the minutes limit, but I do like him a good deal.
Yeah, I wish they would kind of unleash him. They're limiting his minutes quite a bit. Obviously, they don't want to win, so maybe that's part of it. But it's frustrating the way he's not playing because he's been amazing since he got there, just getting a ton of usage. Assist rate is way up, but matchup's not great. I think he's a fine play, but I don't think he's a priority at all. We kind of glossed over James Harden. I think that matchup for the Clippers is amazing without AD. For the Lakers, they were already a pretty bad defense even with AD. Max Christie is also maybe their best wing defender. He's gone now. So I think Harden, I need to look into his projection. It's kind of low at the moment, but I'll boost it. He's kind of expensive relative to like Brunson, Hero, Giddey, of course, and then Thompson. But if he's low, which it looks like he will be, I think he's an outstanding way to spend money on this slate.
Yeah, I think that's the main reason why I'm not like super excited about Harden. Is just because I really like the guys at like $500-$600 below him. But for tournaments, absolutely, if you can get unowned Harden, that is certainly interesting. Even Scotty Barnes at 9K with no RJ Barrett, obviously he's just going to get a tick up in usage there. He looks like a good tournament play as well. I've been on in the last 2 games and he's been not great, but that's just the way it goes. So that's recency bias for you. Scotty Barnes still looks good here. I still just think I'd rather live in the Hero, Brunson, Kyrie range and go up over 9K somewhere else. But those guys are good tournament plays for sure. Anthony Simons is a decent mid-range guy right there with D'Lo. Not quite as appealing, but we know he doesn't have a minutes limit. So that's not terrible. If we want to talk about value, like Keon Johnson, I don't really want to do Keon Johnson. There's other Nets I'd prefer, but he's going to get some minutes with them shorthanded. He's only 5K. There's also Lonzo Ball getting his minutes bumped up to 28 recently at 5K. These guys just look like good possible pivots away from the Rozier chalk. I think there's other ways to do that as well on this slate. Like it doesn't have to be directly point guard related, but I would just seek something like that out for sure. And if we want to go all the way down, there's Miles McBride, I think at 3.7K is still a good play just because OG is not there. It'll be interesting to see what the starting lineup is. Precious Achiuwa started in the last game, so he looks like a good value play right now again too. But it's possible McBride ends up starting, so just keep an eye on what the Knicks do there.
Yeah, I'm not really in love with the super cheap stuff. This is probably a position I'll want to pay up at. There's value to other spots we can get to. But with the high-end stuff, like LeVert, I guess, at 3.8 is okay. Point guard, shooting guard in that Brooklyn or the Boston-Cleveland game, which looks really good. Highest total on the board. Other than that, like, not really into a 5K Lonzo Ball. We mentioned Rozier, Drew Holiday as a pure Rozier pivot. Like, they project almost identically. If Rozier is going to be 40% owned and Drew Holiday is 15 or 10% owned, I would just simply play Drew Holiday instead and be happy with the result.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I'm where you're at as far as like point guard is not where I want to save my cash. So I'm just going to go. I'm probably going to be between Giddey and Harden. Like that's just the range where I'm going at point guard for the most part on this slate. Not that you can't do those other plays. I mean, they're, Rozier's chalky for a reason, but just not what I want to do. All right, over at shooting guard, Jalen Green looks really good with the best projection of the slate at that position. I mean, that's like nearing core play territory, but he just looks like the best point per dollar option up there. Norm Powell also checks in pretty well at 6.9. D'Lo again, 6.4 there. I think those guys are all fine plays. I think if I'm going to do that, I'm just going to go up a little bit further and get Jalen Green if that's the case. Also, shooting guard is a spot where we can save a little bit though, because for $1,000 cheaper, there's Simons and Kobe White, who I like both of them. But we also have even more value. This is a position where we could save with Grady Dick looking really good at 4K, with RJ Barrett out and possibly also Bruce Brown out. So I think Dick is in play anyways. But if Bruce Brown also sits, he's actually going to have a pretty clear path to a good amount of minutes here. So he looks really good. And then Zaire Williams at 4.6K, 37 minutes in his last game. Nets are super shorthanded. Matchup stinks, but he is pretty cheap and looking at a good amount of minutes. So I do like him quite a bit. He's probably my favorite net for sure. And then I'll also mention Cam Whitmore because no Tari Eason. And who else is out for the Rockets? Oh, yeah, Fred VanVleet. So I think there's somebody else. Well, obviously Jabari Smith. Is there somebody else missing too?
No.
Oh, well, okie doke. All right. But Cam Whitmore looks really good. He looks like a great value play there.
Yeah, he looks good. He gets usage off the bench. Eason's absence should help him a little bit. VanVleet also can't hurt. Jalen Green essentially is playing point guard along with Amen Thompson. Handled the ball a ton last night. The shooting is erratic, as we know with him. So there's a low floor if the scoring is not there. But 7,400, not projected to be owned. Brooklyn, not a good defense, especially without Ben Simmons. And Cam Johnson, so no problem with that. Norm Powell, I think, is okay at 6,900. I mentioned liking Harden. I like Norm Powell for the same reasons. The Laker matchup is a really good one. Reeves, we haven't really talked about. I think he's okay at 8.5 on DK, just a pure tournament play. The matchup's not very good, but again, no AD, no Luka, obviously. So
I hate that projection, though.
Spot for him. Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, it's a pure tournament play. So
yeah.
at 8.5, I think he's okay. I think other than D'Lo, my favorite net's gonna be Keon Johnson. Like I'd rather get to Keon Johnson at 5K, I think, than I would Zaire Williams into ownership. Like they're both gonna be owned, but I think Keon with more of a ball handling role. Houston is a good defense in terms of taking away catch and shoot stuff, and that's kind of what Zaire Williams does almost exclusively. So if he's going to be popular, he's another Rozier-esque guy I'm happy to be under the field on.
Yeah, their defense does take a hit, though, with Fred VanVleet not in there. So I might not be as concerned about that as I normally would be.
Just Zaire Williams into 20% ownership doesn't sound very appealing.
Oh, I don't have updated ownership then, because right now Keon looks chalkier than him. So I'll have to play that by ear and see what the ownership looks like, a little bit later.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I think there's one other guy. Yeah. Depending on what they do with the lineup, no Max Christie, obviously. So Dalton Knecht could be kind of interesting here for the Lakers. 3.8K. I would need him to start, but he is viable regardless because he was getting minutes even before Christie got traded. But now Christie's leaving 30-plus minutes in the starting lineup, and they're going to have to do something about that. So obviously, long-term, Luka is going to make him probably kind of irrelevant. But for today, I think Knecht looks like a pretty good dive, especially with a lot of the attention going to a similarly priced Grady Dick. Not a core or a lock by any means, but certainly should be on the radar, especially if he ends up starting.
I don't know. He's okay. He's just been quite bad for a while, so I'm not super psyched about that one.
Well, sometimes all it takes is getting a start and having 30-plus minutes at your back, my friend. All right, over at small forward, Jason Tatum leads the way with a 50-point fantasy projection. That is 8 more than anybody else. I do think as far as high-end value at this position goes, right away it's going to be Amen Thompson at 8.5K, or you could go down further to Josh Hart or Norman Powell. I mean, I never feel bad about playing Amen. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but he does so much. Had a triple-double last game, 64 fantasy points. There's really no reason why he shouldn't excel against the Nets. So I think right now, as far as spending up, he's my favorite small forward. But there is nice mid-range with Denny Avdia at 6.9K. You got Jaylen Brown, who forever remains 8K or lower. You already mentioned Norm. So these guys all look really good. I like Denny a good amount. I'll probably be over the field on him. Amen is carrying no ownership, so I'm getting more and more interested in really going over what that is at. I still like Zaire, even though you made a good point there. Like Baji, not sure I want to go into 28% Agbaji. That feels bad, but he is definitely in play at 3.4K. Should get a lot of minutes with no RJ Barrett. And I already mentioned Whitmore. Anybody else at small forward that you're excited about?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a Tatum slate for me. Under 10K, the Cleveland-Boston game is not really projected to be owned, even though it is the highest total game on the slate. These are two of the best offenses in the league, two of the best defenses as well. But starters could see extended run. Like it's a pretty, fairly big game given the standings and all that. Two good teams, tight spread. Cleveland's wing defense is not its strength either. So I think Tatum is a really strong play, and it doesn't look like he's going to be like a mega chalk at all with the other pay-ups people are prioritizing. So I like that quite a bit. Other than that, you mentioned pretty much everybody. Avdia is a good play at 6.9. I think Kawhi is playable, but I think I prefer Avdia in the same price range. Norm Powell again, Abaji, I think is okay just because he's 3-4. I'll feel better about it if Bruce Brown is out, but there aren't that many other plays down in the true punt range that are viable on this slate, so I'm fine with it, but not excited about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to save salary, those guys will do that for you. Whether they produce or not remains to be seen. So your boy Tatum can be used at power forward as well. LeBron James out projects him by only 2, so I'm with you there. If you're going to pay all the way up, I think I would prefer Tatum between the two. But LeBron also doesn't project to be very owned, and we know he can nuke. Not a great matchup though, so it just does not feel like the spot to pay almost 11K for James. Bam looks amazing. Bam looks great. 7.9K, really good projection facing the Bulls, who are not good against bigs and just play fast and don't really defend well in general. So Bam looks awesome. Like I said, I don't know if I'd really go to my way to play him and Hero and Ware in the same team, but it's a game against the Bulls. You can do that. I think I prefer Hero if we're looking at ownership, and if it is where it currently projects, then I like that. But honestly, in a vacuum, Bam looks great.
Yeah, it's nice that he has power forward. If he was center only, it'd be a lot harder to get to him. But 7,900 against the Bulls, who allow the most points in the paint per game, is essentially an ideal spot for him. So no issue with it. Made him a core play for a reason. So
right,
pretty good way to spend money. Other than that, like we talked about Tatum, we talked about Avdia. There's not really a lot else to pay up for that I'm liking at power forward. I think otherwise you're kind of going down to guys like, well, LeBron is there, but not psyched about the matchup against LAC.
Yeah. What are you thinking about value at power forward? We do have, Jovic is okay. Rui is fine. Precious at 5.7. That's pushing it a little bit, don't you think?
Pushing it a lot a bit, I think.
Yeah. I mean, he obviously could start and get like good minutes, and he has a good points from a guy, and the Raptors are a pretty good matchup, but almost 6K. Don't think I need to do that. Tari Eason is still here, but do not play him because he is out. Yabu, if Embiid didn't play.
You mentioned him?
Yeah, I mentioned Jovic. I think he projects pretty darn well here at 5K flat against the Bulls. Probably not going to be very owned here, I would imagine. 17, him and even Jaquez, 4.3K Jaquez. I think they're solid Heat guys in a great matchup that not everybody is really going to think about or prioritize. I wouldn't make them a priority either, but I think they're good tourney value plays. In that same game, I don't want to do Patrick Williams. I think Buzelis is interesting at 4K flat, though, especially if you're kind of not sure what to do with somebody like Dick or Connect or Whitmore. Like all those guys are kind of in the same price range. Buzelis seems like he's not going to be owned at all. So he's been getting minutes. He scored 12 actual points in 3 straight games. They're already without Levine, obviously, but they also are going to be out without Dalen Terry and possibly no THT. Obviously, those guys don't have massive roles, but every extra body that isn't there ensures that Buzelis is probably going to get a good amount of runs. So I like him a lot at 4K on this slate.
Yeah, like we talked about, kind of just a guy to play if you're otherwise got a pretty chalky build. But not someone to prioritize with a full slate on tap.
Oh no. He's it's a tourney value play for sure. It's not somebody you must click in your lineup. All right, over to center. I assume we're done at power forward. At center, we have Cat leading the way. Cat is probably my favorite stud of the slate at 9.4K. One of the best projections, and just compared to the other expensive studs, like I definitely want to take a shot. I know Cat has not been good, but matchup is good. We know he's been amazing all year long. The price has come down. He's projecting extremely well. He does carry a little bit of ownership here, pushing 30%. Not sure I really care about that. I think I just like him a little bit better than Tatum. Certainly like him better than LeBron or Maxey at this point. So he looks awesome. Şengün is an okay tournament play, but not really interested in that. Bam looks awesome, like we said. Zubac, Porzingis, Gafford, if Embiid is out. I don't really want to do Gafford if Embiid is in. Those guys all look amazing. So why don't you talk about those guys?
Yeah, Towns has been pretty bad shooting since the thumb injury, so it's kind of a concern if he's still dealing with it. But like you said, the price came down. The matchup's a good one against Toronto. I think Brunson as a leverage play is awesome. If Towns is going to be the more popular of the two, which it looks like it will be as of now. Vucevic at 8-2, like Miami plays big. More usage to go around without Levine there. I think Vuce at 8-2 is pretty interesting. Ware at 6-1, again, like he's shown some ceiling even with, since he got promoted into the starting unit. I think that's fine. Gafford, Porzingis, like you said, even Pirtle at 6-4 is okay on the other side of that New York matchup. I'm not really paying all the way up other than Towns, like Şengün, not really on my radar. Embiid, not going to be on my radar at all. And then the cheap stuff, there's not really a whole lot of that either that looks great. So it's probably a pay-up spot.
Yeah, the thing is, though, I think your first sentiment there is really interesting because as much as I do like Cat as the stud that I would prefer right now on this slate, I don't even know if you have to go up over 9K on the slate because there's so much good high-level mid-range. I mean, Amen Thompson is – I think you could get away with Amen Thompson being your most expensive player tonight. 8.5K, massive ceiling. We know that. The price is actually a lot more accurate at this point than people want to admit. If there is no Embiid, Gafford looks awesome at 7.2. DeAndre Ayton at 6.5. He's kind of too cheap for the ceiling he's flashing lately. And then he could just end up going up against Thomas Bryant. So that could be interesting. Miles Turner is questionable. I think Miles at 6'1 is always, or 6'5 he's in play if he's going to be active. But if he's out, 3.2K, Thomas Bryant looks amazing. Certainly want that if that is going to be a thing. Not paying 9.6 for Embiid. How do you feel about the Cavs bigs here?
More interested in Mobley. I think as a low-end tournament play, he's really good. Obviously, there's been upside for that. So Allen probably not, but Mobley's okay.
Okay, and what's your interest level in paying or waiting on, like, if the Miles Turner news doesn't come in, what's your interest level in kind of playing for Thomas Bryant to be, usable, or do you not want to take that risk?
Honestly, I would like to play him if Turner's out again, even though it did not go well last night. But we'll see. There's really
got 23.
not a lot of other.
Wasn't that bad?
There's not a lot of other punt value as of now. So, and like the punt value we do have is in a 4:30 Pacific time game, and that game starts at 7. So, kind of tough. He didn't play last night, so I guess you can take that as a sign that there's a good chance he's not going to play tonight. But I think you can play for it. It's just hard because like neither LA team, Indiana and Portland don't have a lot of other super cheap pieces you're going to want. So you're going to have like 3 guys in there to appropriately pivot for if he's in.
Yes, I will say I don't really mind that because I do have interest in the Pacers-Blazers game in general. But I do think if you're going to do it, it's probably more suited to be just a risky move instead of doing. There was that one slate with the Nuggets where we didn't know what was going to happen with Jokic, so we kind of were preparing for 3 guys to move around in the event he was in or out. I don't think this is a scenario where we really need to go that far into it. I would just think if you have a perfect lineup that you love and you need a guy at 3.2K, I think going into the night with Thomas Bryant, if the Miles Turner news does not come out, is not the worst GPP move out there. All right, that is good to do it for us for the full player by player or position by position breakdown. I'll just double down, by the way. 6.1K, Khalil Ware looks awesome. I love him too. So let's end things with our flag plant of the day and our general strategy.
I think I'll go with Kyrie. I think first game since the trade, maybe it's going to light a fire under him. They're playing Philly. It should be a pretty competitive game, I would think. Not going to get any ownership at all in the mid-8s. I think he's a pretty strong play on a contrarian way. Like if you have a chalky build, otherwise you're looking for a way to spend money to gain an edge. I think Kyrie's a pretty good way to do that. And I think one rule I'm considering would be to split Bam and Ware. I don't know if I want them together into ownership for both of them. I think it's fine if you do play them together, but I'm strongly considering separating just to kind of get a little bit different.
Yeah, I would double down on the fact that I definitely want to make sure I'm not overexposing myself to Heat guys, because like a lot of them look good, but we just know they're not all going to hit. So when you're looking at Hero, Bam, and Ware, pretty good chance one of them fails at least slightly, and one of them probably wrecks, and then the other one's just fine. So picking the right one is kind of the name of the game here. And this really carries down to Rozier and Jovic too. My guess is if somebody's going to bust when it comes to Miami chalk, it's probably going to be Terry Rozier, and I'm just willing to take that chance. As far as flag plants, up top, Cat is my favorite spend. He's got the best projection. He's got a great matchup. His prices come down. Don't love the ownership, but I also, that doesn't really get me off of him necessarily. But at the same time, I think beyond paying for Cat, I really like the idea of going just true high-level mid-range here and just not forcing myself into punts I don't want and like stretching myself too thin. Because who are these studs we're paying for? Jason Tatum is on the road against a capable Cavs defense, and he's been incredibly erratic overall on the year. You have Maxey, who could have Embiid back. You have LeBron in a terrible matchup who's overpriced. Like, and Cat's been awful too. So like dollar for dollar, Cat is the best stud in my opinion, but he's been so bad that you can absolutely talk yourself into not paying for him. So yeah, I think overall, if I'm doing a lot of lineups, I'm going to go balanced and going away from all these studs. It's just there's no Jokic or Wemby or Luka on this slate, so I feel like maybe this is a slate where we don't really need to force it. All right, that is going to do it for us. Hopefully this helps you out. If it does, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and come join us in Discord. Thanks for watching, and good luck.